All right. So welcome to House Divided. Your every once in a while podcast about two people who disagree on a lot of things and occasionally agree on something every once in a blue moon. I'm Tyree, and that's Teasy. And we had a conversation earlier today, and you brought up something, and I thought it would be a good discussion point for the podcast. So, the Jrue Holiday and his wife conversation. So, all right. So, what went down? Can you rehash it?
Yeah, basically, I mean, it was just that she wrote and penned a little letter on her Instagram page or whatever, just discussing, like I said, her and her husband's feelings about being traded. As Jrue Holiday was traded from Milwaukee to Portland, and then before he ever got to Portland, he got traded to Boston. But like I said, her initial post was after the first trade, when she said she was just caught off guard and taken aback by her husband being traded without them being notified or given any advance notice that he's in trade talks or anything like that. And like I said, I was just asking you what your thoughts and opinions were about it.
So, yes, I do have thoughts and opinions about it. So a couple things she pointed out in there in her feelings was about the fact that like she's got to uproot her kids, and they had started making friends and blah blah blah.
I mean, just start school like a month ago. She said so.
You said what?
She did make mention, and I understand it as well too. Being a parent and lifestyle, obviously, you school. Her kids just started school like not too long ago.
Okay, well, so what? So and that's I'm glad you said just a month ago, and it just makes it even less of a thing for me. And so let me explain what I'm talking about. So like her issue with having to uproot the kids and having to have them make friends, and they just started to get settled in the city. So a couple things I have a problem with. First, you accept that part of the life when you get into professional sports that yes, you can be traded. Yes, you can be fired, just like any other job. So her having to pick up and leave, it's kind of a non-deal. And it's like I have personal history about this because when I was a kid, our father was in the military. And so every 4 years, we were picking up and leaving and going to someplace new and having to make new friends. So it's kind of one of those things for me. It was like, you get over it. So for her to be whining about that is kind of whiny to me because you have military kids who do that all the time. And nobody's writing them any sad love songs about having to make new friends and having to live places where they don't even speak the language because their relative is in the military. And this person's relative is a famous basketball player making millions of dollars. So
millions. And to play devil's advocate, like you said, they are actually known as being, I think he won the award last year in the NBA, and he's also been nominated many times and won some other things I think as well too, as being some of the most active members in the communities. That's why she did make a point about, we don't just take from the community that we live in. We also give back because they are very active as far as giving back and donations and running drives and things of that nature. So they are well known in whatever city team that they play in for, that they do give back. Just a bit like just play devil's advocate, just to give her that background about maybe why she feels a certain way about Milwaukee.
Yeah, and
this isn't the first time that Jrue's been traded.
Right. But maybe now he's been traded after they felt like he had established himself as a player that had some sort of value that could command those kinds of conversations, which, again, it's like you getting a mini violin from me on that because, again, your husband makes millions of dollars to play professional basketball, and one of the things that comes along with it is unless you're just that dude, like you're probably potentially going to be traded at some point in your career. And so
even if you are the dude, especially in basketball, you still might get traded, but at least you'll get to dictate. At least you get what you and knowing that you're going to be on the move soon, hopefully.
Right. Well, and now that was my point. Is
like
that
with Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard knew he was eventually going to get. Well, he was holding. He knew there's a possibility he'd get traded soon.
right? My point was more to the fact that she was upset that she didn't even know that they were in conversations about being traded. But at the end of the day, what does that matter? So, for instance, if he knew he was potentially going to be traded, is she not going to put her kids in school? Is she not going to do the Bible studies? Is she not going to get back to Milwaukee? Like, what's the relevance in the knowing you potentially could be traded in those aspects? There is none.
And I agree with you, and I do think it. You made a good point. I think it is the part of her. I think she was a little bit hurt that they thought that they were going to be like he was untouchable because he helped bring a championship to Milwaukee and all these things like that. So I think my personal opinion is that she and them felt like that he wasn't. They were going to retire there.
Or they would at least have more say in his future going forward because of what he had contributed to the team. And that's fine. That's a personal thought that you thought you were higher than, you were of more value to Milwaukee than Milwaukee thinks of you. And that it just is what it is, unfortunately, for him. Like, they're learning a harsh reality this morning that he ain't what, in their eyes, what they thought he was. So, I mean, millions of Americans go through that every day when you get people getting laid off for thinking, man, I was doing an excellent job for my company. But the company was like, nah, Tyree, I'm sorry. Like, your salary, we're going to need to keep that because somebody needs to make a profit here. And in this instance, they were like, you know what, Jrue? Getting Dame Lillard, that's a better puzzle piece than what you bring for us. So we're going to go ahead and get Dame Lillard. Because
somebody I personally know went to work on the morning and came home at lunchtime without a job.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, she's not gonna get no love song from me. Like those tears are nothing to me about her being.
Like I have empathy for her, but I don't have any sympathy for her. I understand it's tough having to uproot your family and this and that. I get that. I understand those points of it, but at the end of the day, yes. And it's easier said than done. I'm not in their shoes, but I do believe Jrue is making $35+ million this year. So I think we can deal with the move.
Right, and and that's another point. It's like, all right, well, you ain't gonna uproot them anyway. They just like, if you so upset, stay in Milwaukee. He got enough money for you to stay in Milwaukee. Just stay there, and he'll come get you. He'll come see you when he's on the road and has a chance to come back and check it out. Like, but if it's that big of a deal to you.
Yeah, he signed a 4-year, $134 million contract that was all guaranteed. So I think they're saying he's making $39.4 million this year.
Yeah, that to me is like, all right, well, you get no sympathy, crazy lady. This person, like, at that point, that's. You got nannies. You don't even be watching your kids. Your kids going to the best private school in whatever city they living in now. Where is it? Boston now?
They're Boston.
Yeah, so it's like, all right, you in Boston now. So now you get the best private school in Boston. So, yeah, all that extra stuff. And I get that she's a human being. And I get that maybe her post is related to people having comments about things. And, yes, to your point, you have empathy for her and her kids about having to pack up and leave, but then you also, it's like, the reality is, again, you signed up for that. You guys are professional athletes that signed up for a job, and if you don't like the way the job works, find a new job. But in the real world, like you said, you know somebody who went to work and then lost their job by lunch. That person didn't get any.
They were at the company 30 plus years, I think.
Oh yeah, so I know what you're talking about now. So yeah, didn't get any warning to prepare for it, and just lost a job. So yeah, so there's real world people who going through real world things that are actually a bigger impact. Because again, you said they signed a guaranteed contract with some stupid amount of millions, so you lose from the the normal population of America, you lose a lot of the sympathy because you making buku money. More money, more problems, they said. So that's a problem you're facing.
I'll make this year be more money than I ever see in my lifetime.
Right. Every how long is a basketball game? 60 minutes?
12-minute quarter, 48 minutes.
48 minutes. So in 48 minutes, he makes more than I'll make the rest of my life. And that's not to say that, like, just because he's making more bread that he's, like, entitled to a whole lot of more problems, but he is entitled to more problems. Like, that's just what it is. I would play basketball and move every 4 years and have my kids in new schools to play basketball for a living, making $35 million a year. So,
yeah, and this is the end of his. He's winding down towards the end of his career. So, yeah.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's on the older side. He's like he's plus 30. So,
okay. Well, put it on your calendar.
He didn't have 2 more years to play. That's what I'm saying. Hey, if I got to move, I got to move. I'm keeping my $39 million.
Well, no. If I know I'm at the end of my career, and he may not know that, then I'm keeping that house in Milwaukee that I love so much, and my family could stay there, and I'll just travel for a season.
Yeah, that's what a lot of black basketball players did. I know J.J. Redick, when he was a free agent, he only was going to sign with certain teams so that he could stay close to his family. But he wasn't going to uproot him, but he wanted to be able to see his family on off days and things like that. So he was only signing with teams like up north or whatever. So the NBA players do it all the time. I mean, players do it all the time.
Yeah. So if it was really that big of a deal to them, they could figure out how to make it work. That's what I'm gonna say on that. Is they could make it work if it was really that big of a deal for them. And that tells me that it's not that big of a deal to them that she on Instagram or wherever she's at complaining about it instead of addressing the problem. So yeah, not overly concerned. All right, so the next topic is, and we can do this one first since you don't have to weigh in, is big football weekend, college football, yay! A whole bunch of rivalry games and some big games. So big rivalry game. You got the Longhorns versus the Sooners, and as an Aggie, obviously hate the Longhorns. And my spouse.
Well, let me weigh in first. So
you just said you weren't gonna weigh in. So hold up. Are you weighing in?
No. That's what I didn't have a lot to add. Is what I'm saying. So you can go on your diatribe after I add what I want to add.
So yeah, so you switched up now. Like before, you wasn't gonna comment because you didn't want to put bad juju.
So, go ahead.
You didn't want to put bad juju, so I'm gonna let you get in there now. So get in there and say what you want.
No, I was just saying. Of course, I want the Longhorns to win. This will be again one of the tests of the season. Like I said, we played Alabama. In all honesty, I didn't think we'd win that game. Thought we would compete, but we ended up winning it. So then the next hurdles was not having a letdown, which we survived so far. And now we're coming into the rivalry game, and like I said, I hope we win. But this is going to be a game that does define our season. And if we do have the goal of what we're building towards this year, which is, like I said, my goal was winning the Big 12, which then ultimately maybe lead to the College Football Playoff. So just hope that we win. I feel like it's going to be a tough game, and Oklahoma's going to be shooting for our hearts because the whole 49-0 last year.
Mm. Yeah. So anyway, I hope Longhorns lose. That's all I got. So we'll see. I'll be unfortunately watching some of it. I don't know if I'll get to watch all of it because my son's got a game as well. So I'll watch what I can and cheer as loud as I can for my wife's Sooners and hope they pull out the miracle. And then on the other side of it, you've got A&M hosting Alabama, and this isn't a big rivalry game. Huh?
Miracle, though.
What?
Why did you say miracle?
Miracle.
Or do you think Texas is the better team this year?
Did I say miracle?
You did say miracle.
I don't think I said miracle, but maybe I did.
Okay, so who do you think is a better team this year so far?
So from what I hear, I would say Texas is the better team, but the way Oklahoma because Oklahoma hasn't played anybody of value, which again is hard because Texas played Alabama, and the assumption was before the game that Alabama was a top 5 team. After that game, they have since not looked anywhere close to a top 5 team. And so now my question is, did they really play a good team, or was Alabama just saying what it is? So we could possibly see more of that this weekend, because they've struggled all season. They struggled the very next game, and then they struggled to beat Ole Miss. So maybe Alabama just isn't what it is. But Oklahoma definitely hasn't played anybody of any value. But when they played them, they also punished them as if they had no value. So could this be OU actually has a defense for once in the first 20 years, and they actually stand a chance? Because offensively, they look legit. Dylan Gabriel looked solid. Last year, Texas beat them 49-0, but they were playing Davis Bevel, who wouldn't see the football field in high school at this point. So would they beat Dylan Gabriel?
Our defense was not playing as well as they're playing this year. And so that's why I'm sure I really mentioned it too, because I do think Oklahoma's offense, with the year under the system and Dylan Gabriel healthy, they have looked very good this year to me. And so our defense is also very good too. So this will actually be a true test, because I do agree. Alabama's offense team overall wasn't as hyped up as it usually is. I'll be honest about that, but especially their offense. Yeah. Wasn't anything to write home about. So now that we're playing, I do feel like Oklahoma is legit offense, and now we get to see if their defense is truly legit on the Texas side of it.
Yeah, and their defense played well last weekend, so I think it'll be a better game, and it'll be a true test for them to see have they turned a corner finally and can tackle people and cover people. So we'll see. It's a rivalry game, and so it doesn't really matter what you did before this game, because there's going to be hearts jumping out of people's chests to win this game. It's their last one. It's their last game in the Big 12 as a rival in the Big 12, and so there'll be a lot of emotion in the stadium.
Where they lost last year, too. I know it's eating at them.
Yeah, and so I would imagine there's going to be some chippy. So anybody who was a part of that game last year that actually played hard and played good is going to be extra chippy. And then anyone that didn't play well last year will have extra motivation to play well. And then you've got the expectations now for the Longhorns, because they're number 3 in the nation, right?
Yes.
So they're the number 3 team in the nation. So they have all the burden of expecting to be winning this game. And so can that team handle the expectations in this game that potentially locks in the number 1 seed in the Big 12?
And that's why I said it's a big game for Texas, because we play down to opponents, and when we're supposed to be rolling and look good, we don't, and things like that. So we've avoided that pitfall so far this year. So I'm interested to see if it can keep going.
Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, so then on the other side of it, so I don't know if I said miracle, I don't know what I was talking about from a miracle standpoint.
You did, but I mean, we ain't got a harp on it.
The good thing about recording these is I can go back and look and see if I actually said the word miracle. But maybe my miracle thought was just making sure that happens, because the worst case scenario in the whole world is Texas wins this game, and especially if they win it like in convincing fashion, oh man, the rowdies are out of control. I went to a happy hour last night, and this lady I've known for a long time, she's a Longhorn, and she was talking about their national champions this year, next year, and the future years, and it was like,
she did not speak for Longhorn Nation. And you said you met her at happy hour. She's been drinking. She didn't count.
She hadn't had any drinks at that point.
You don't think she did, but she did.
I was there when she arrived, so she had no drinks.
She had a glass in the car.
Anyway, so she said the Longhorns are this year's national champion, and next year's and future years they're stockpiling. They're fired up. So Longhorn Nation is ready for this national championship. And the last significant win of any, not saying the last time they beat OU, the last significant win they had in the series was the year that they finally got over the hump and beat OU, and then went on to win the national championships. So there's history of this type of environment leading to one or both of the schools headed towards a national championship. So anyway, but the A&M game in Alabama, not a rivalry game, but equally important because what?
It kind of feels rivalry-ish.
It's not rivalry.
I know it's not rivalry, but there's a definite hatred there, a hatred and dislike, for sure.
I don't know where you see that from. Like,
maybe it's more so from the Alabama side because because of what Johnny Manziel, like they'll always dislike you guys because what Johnny Manziel came in and did y'all's first year in the SEC at Alabama. They won't like you guys. There's always a little bit of that on their in the back of the mind to me.
You say that, but I don't.
That's why this game is made. That's why this game is made. Even a deal. In a year they play.
Well, the only time it's ever been a thing was after we surprised them and won, and then the fact that Jimbo was the first assistant to finally get over the hump and get a win against Saban. So
and then they're just crashed. That's what I'm saying. This game will matter always. There's always a little bit of thing because Alabama loves. Even though it seems like they're kind of turning, it might be turning the cheek on Nick Saban. They'll back Nick Saban, so they didn't like what Jimbo was doing and saying how he came back at it.
Yeah, no. There's that aspect of it, but I don't think from the football aspect it's not a rivalry because they're not on our level, and we're not even close to their level of football, and so there's nothing there. Like we look at it as this is a measuring stick for us. They don't look at it as this is an important game. This is just a game on their schedule. But for us, every year, it's a measuring stick of have we actually gotten better or are we still in the same boat? And year after year, we find out that we're in the same boat we've been in, still not keeping up with the Joneses. So
y'all beating them, though, like I said. So
we've beaten them twice in 12 years.
That's a lot more than some other schools in the SEC in that 12-year period.
I don't know about a lot more, but yes, two wins in the games in 12 years is better than some. But that shows that Alabama's dominance over that time period. That someone would rush the field for a regular season game because they finally beat Alabama. Like that's how ridiculous it is. Like they're everybody's Super Bowl.
Threshold is low because they're rushing now for everything.
Right.
Besides the Flyers.
But, I mean, to the point that someone thought that was appropriate to storm the field because we beat the Giant. But anyway, so this game is a big deal for us because even though we've had injuries at the quarterback position and the line position, we've played well this year despite those things. And so can we actually hold them and score points against them? Because that has been the dramatic improvement from year to year is that we actually have an offense that isn't the worst in the country anymore. Like, we expect to score touchdowns in the games. We expect to get yards in the games. Last year, the previous years, when we were 90th or below in offense, this year we're in the top 40. And it's like, all right, it isn't just on our defense, which has sucked. And that's the other part is now our defense, even when we do that three-man front, we're still somehow getting pressure. We're still able to cover for the most part. We still have some blown plays. We still have some run issues. But we're allowing all 1,000 of those defensive linemen we recruited over the past 7 years to actually see the field. And so they're getting some opportunities to get sacks, get tackles for loss, because we're like in the top 5 of tackles for loss in the country, the top 5 of sacks in the country. So we're getting pressure from wherever we're getting pressure from, and we're able to cover them. So we'll see. Alabama doesn't have a passing threat game, and if Jalen Milroe is out, then they're toast because those other 3 guys suck apparently. So.
And that's why I think the spread, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but that's why I think the spread is what it is because I do feel like bettors don't feel like that Alabama can score any points. And so their defense, y'all's defense is like I said, I don't know if it'll be a shootout game. They feel like 21 points might beat Alabama.
Right.
Maybe even 3 scores, 2 touchdowns and a field goal might beat Alabama this year. It feels like.
Yeah, and it'll be key that we keep Max upright because we don't have any real backups. We got a transfer as our backup right now, and then behind him we have a walk-on guy. So we'll see. We got a bunch of running backs that are really good. We've got a bunch of talented wide receivers that should be healthy. What?
Was Evan Stewart playing?
Yeah.
Didn't he sit out last week or something?
No, he played. He sat out 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he sat out 2 weeks ago against Sisters of the Poor. Whatever ridiculous school we played that week. I want to say it was New Mexico, but New Mexico was week 2. No, maybe it was New Mexico because week 2 was Miami. So it must be New Mexico. But yeah, I mean, Evan Stewart's there, and if Moose Muhammad would get out of trouble, like, it would be good to use him too, because it was Ulam Monroe. He sat out. Was it that one, or was it Auburn? He might have sat out Auburn. Let me see. One of these games, he was banged up, they said, and so he just didn't play. Receiving, yeah, it was Ulam Monroe. Because he had 0 stats, so I'm going to assume that meant that he got 0 targets that game, which would only make sense if he wasn't playing that game. But, I mean, now that Max Johnson's because he played Auburn. Max Johnson seems to like Aniyah Smith as his favorite target anyway, so that seems to have worked out in Aniyah Smith's favor that Connor Wegman went down, because Connor only seemed to throw it to Evan, and Max only seems to throw it to Aniyah. So,
a little bit of breaking news. Well, not breaking news, but quick sidebar just to get your initial quick reaction. An anonymous Pac-12 coach says that Shedeur Sanders is taking sacks, so his completion percentage doesn't get affected.
What's the relevance?
So he has a higher completion percentage. Because everybody understands his offensive line is terrible, but if he's completing 75% of his passes instead of throwing it away, and complete 60% of his passes, it makes him look better, I guess.
Does it?
Yeah, I guess that's why I was getting your reaction. I guess that's what this anonymous, I don't get it either. That's exactly why I was asking. Why would somebody do that?
Yeah. Even if they were doing it, why do I care? Congratulations, Shedeur. You completed 80% of your passes. Unless he's trying to break, like, the NCAA record for completion percentage. But I think there's a number of targets you have to have.
Bonus points. Who holds the record for highest completion percentage in the season?
Sam Ellinger.
Wrong.
Colt McCoy.
Wrong.
Who?
He actually is second.
Who?
Mac Jones.
Okay. Well, thanks for that useless statistic.
As long as one of the sports that I talk about is a Mac Jones fan, so he always talk about how accurate he is and stuff. So yeah, he had the most accurate season in college football history. He beat out Colt McCoy season, 2009.
All right. Well, that ends the episode. So thank you for watching. Y'all have a blessed day.
Take it easy.